Hey. What if being unapologetically me is exactly what sets someone else free? I'm your unapologetically yours host, Melinda. My mother, Susan Elizabeth Miller, aka Susie, aka Sue, was raised by parents who taught her that people are people are people. I believe that teaching was intended to raise them, she and her older brother, to not be racist. There was intentionality there for sure. And boy, did it work. My Uncle Ozzy married a woman from Thailand, and my mother, before she married my father, was engaged to a man of Asian descent. As lovely as she was, and smart and kind and good, she was not accepted by his family, which split them up. Thank the Lord, since I wouldn't be here otherwise. Phew! That said, what I've not revealed, OMG, do you hear that? Oh my gosh, it's so loud. That's absurd. It's a vacuum going on upstairs. I turned off the ice maker, only to be assaulted by the vacuum. So, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. It's going to be over soon. I wonder if you can even hear it. Okay, so what I have not yet revealed, for those of you who don't know me, is that my mother is Caucasian, or as I sometimes like to say, European American. Sometimes I say Caucasoid, the white equivalent for Negroid. She was white. My father, her husband, is black, or some of y'all like to say African American or person of color, or back in the day, Negroid. As a matter of fact, I think it says either Negro or Negroid on his birth certificate. He was born in 1938. So, in this episode, if the teaser hasn't been enough of an eye opener, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about one social construct: race. So, the construction or the design of it is to keep one group over the other, to keep the other group down, below, less than. Globally and locally, it was a way to justify slavery, colonization, and unequal treatment. I don't think I'll get too deep in this conversation, but perhaps I will, so buckle up. According to this construct, I am biracial or mixed, also known as mulatto, another socially constructed term to ensure one group was treated less than, given less than the other. Although historically it is often true today too that individuals who were fairer skinned, like me, or lighter, that those less melanin rich folks were and are treated better, especially those who could actually pass, meaning pass for white, be mistaken for white, be treated as if they were white. Plenty of black people did pass, and they benefited. And I'm not knocking it. It was safety for them. It was survival. I've definitely benefited from being lighter, but also there are ways I don't. And I'll talk about that as well. The reality, though, is people are not different biologically. Many people don't know that skin color is not a marker of race at all. It's just something born out of geography and adaptation. You know, like we all started, and you know, some of y'all might want to close your ears right now. Go like this. La 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 la. We all started out of Africa, okay? Every living human's ancestry is traced there. Even if it doesn't show up on your genetic ancestry testing, all right? And so over what's the word? Millennia, human skin tone changed with their migration based on where the shining, the sun, the shone, the based on where the sun shone strongest and how their bodies needed to survive within that light. Okay, I pulled that from ChatGPT, y'all. So, all my life, my mother told me, "You have the best of both worlds." And that was her intentionality in play, to teach me that I was not less in my blackness nor greater in my whiteness, that I had, in her words, the very best of both worlds. When I was young, I watched a show, it was Phil Donahue or something, where he was interviewing people who were biracial. Some identified as more of one race than the other, some to the point of denying one half of themselves as even existing. That was really interesting. Like, it definitely was something that I remember to this day, right? So it was like it was an important observation. So thankfully, my mom's work of pouring into me paid off to where I didn't have that same struggle. But I know it is a struggle. I began to understand it really the older that I got. When I was a teenager, there was this sweet little girl, about 8 years old, that was at my dad's friend's house. The adults were playing cards, the kids were playing with each other, and this little girl came up to me and told me I was pretty and she wished she was light skinned like me. It broke my heart. I was wrecked. And somehow, at her age, in her dark little frame, she was informed by society, by her family, I don't know, that she was not beautiful because of the shade of her skin. And like, really, I'm telling you, I was like, I just cried. And I know what she saw was that light skinned girls like me were being called beautiful. They were being shown positive attention. They were benefiting by their proximity to whiteness. She didn't get those same accolades, those positive vibes. I did my best to love up on her and to plant a seed that she was, in fact, beautiful. And I hope somehow that seed grew. And I think it might have been from that point that, I mean, I see beauty everywhere. I see beauty in everything and almost everyone, if I'm being honest. I don't know if it was that made me look for it more, but I love seeing dark women who are just glorious in all shades. But it's it's just so stunning to me. That's exotic, and that's uh, a standard of beauty, instead of, well, if you know, you know. So when I was her age, I didn't even really know what race was or that it was such a big deal. That culture shock didn't come until I moved away from California, of course, to Florida. Well, of course. It was a very rude awakening, I assure you. I was 10, and that's when I got called, careful little ears, that's when I got called a nigger for the first time by a white counterpart. Technically, I think she was some kind of Hispanic, but she too was passing. The worst I'd heard as a younger child in Los Angeles was that I was gray because the girl, who may have even been black herself, took a black crayon and white crayon and mixed it together. So I'm gray. One of my closest friends, though, in LA, was also the product of a biracial marriage. Biracial couples existed everywhere, to the point of not noticing. It was definitely more acceptable socially, though my parents also had their fair share of attack. I remember when we drove to Florida, when we moved, my father asked me to duck below his seat so that I wouldn't be seen. We were at a McDonald's drive-thru in, drumroll, Mississippi. Enough said. So there's a story that both of my parents have told me, and it was my mom pregnant with me 7 years after they'd gotten married, and she was in the grocery store and she saw a white woman with a child, and I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl. And at that point, I don't think they told you gender. You just found out when you went to the hospital, right? But she stopped probably dead in her tracks, and she was admiring this little child and wondering if the child growing inside of her would look like this little person. Next thing she knew, she got dragged. The woman, the father of the child, so the woman's partner, husband, just ripped her to shreds. He assumed that she was looking with disgust or that she was going to say something off. And I'm I felt so sorry hearing that story, you know? My dad said that he felt that the man who reduced my mother to tears, that he wasn't ready for it, or that he was immature. But perhaps it was just that he was tired, so freaking tired of having his love for another human being berated, being questioned, attacked. The mother of his child attacked, his baby attacked. It's to me, it's likely that, but also I don't know. Could be a little bit of both. I have finally discovered. Took a long time. No, I know my dad's been right about some things, but yeah, I have discovered continually the older I get, not just like at 25 when my brain is fully formed, which it may not even have been because trauma, but yeah, that he's right and he has been right about a lot of stuff that I didn't like. The idea that he was right, and so to my 13-year-old, I get it, babe. I get it. And I know it's so shocking when you discover that me or your dad is right on something, and you will continue. Even when you're past grown, he thinks 18 years old is being grown. When you're past grown, you will discover that we were right about things like don't rush to be grown. So, my parents were mature. They were older, as well. And they were very strong in their commitment and to their love to one another. They were in it to win it. And they were strong enough to stay the course of their love, even though they were treated wrongly, horribly. And I'm grateful for their example. So, my mother, for the record, was an advocate for black justice. She was the freedom rider type. Her parents, interestingly, I didn't tell you this before, had a problem with her choice of husband. Even though they'd raised both of their children in a way to look at everyone as the same, they did not think she was going to bring home a black man, okay? So they still had biases. In fact, the story of my parents coming together and meeting with her parents was very much like the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, starring Sidney Poitier, Tracy Spencer, and Katharine Hepburn. I can't remember the girl who played the woman that he was with, but I highly recommend watching that film to anyone, to everyone. In fact, just watch everything Sidney Poitier. So many films of his were just groundbreaking. He was a trailblazer, period. They touch on this topic of race. Films that were banned in southern states, like In the Heat of the Night. They called it the slap heard round the world. So, you know what? Just watch it. Just watch it. But that movie was banned. Like, they were not going to show that in the South, the dirty South. So, anyway, my parents, they met her parents at the airport, right? And they were sitting down at a table, and there was a black waitress who came and waited on them. And when she walked away, my grandfather says, now, y'all, this is like, again, before I'm born, right? 7 years before I was born. My grandfather says, why don't you marry her? Which is, of course, ridiculous. And my father said, I don't love her. I love your daughter. So it would be many years, in fact, yeah, when I was born, before they came around, which I'm glad for because I love my grandma and grandpa. I called them Papa. And yeah, they were great. And so, but what's interesting just about that whole thing, and I am happy for the people whose parents come around, and I understand it's difficult. Like, I understand it's difficult if you've been taught something your whole life, and especially those who have had the framing of Bible verses being used to say that God is against it. I mean, there's an entire religion that thinks that people with dark skin or black skin are from the devil, and it's a sign of that. Little do they know that their ancestry goes back to, what did I say before? Africa. But I digress. So, interestingly, it wasn't there was a couple things. One, it was me, right? But my parents lived on this street and on 18th Street, and they were the Millers. My dad was he's still alive. My mom passed away. Um, James Carter Miller, and my mother was Susan Elizabeth Miller, and she got to keep her last name. Woo woo. But there was a couple who were also the Millers on their street, and it was a white couple, older, and they were very well educated, PhD, either the both of them had it or one of them. And when my grandparents traveled, I don't know, up the coast of the West Coast in their RV, they came to where my parents were in Los Angeles, and they met this couple, and they're like, oh yeah, your daughter's nice, but Jimmy, oh, he's the best. Oh, he's good at this and he's great at that, and we just love him. And that influence from someone who looked like them, someone who had the preferred skin color, went a long way, to change their hearts. And eventually, my grandfather and father got together and talked, and they exchanged lots of different stories of their past, military, all different kinds of things. And um, yeah, they were able to bridge that gap and forgive and love and move on. And I would spend some weeks in the summer there in Napa Valley where they lived, and it was beautiful. So I had a happier ending than many. So again, uh, actually, what I want to add, I just remember this thing. There was a really poignant to me line in the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Sidney Poitier. Anyway, he said to his father in the film, right? Obviously. So he said to his dad, "You think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man." And man, I wish that so many other people would take that on, but it's hard to take that on when you're not treated like a man, when you're not treated like you're worthy. So for me, my whole life, I was told you have the best of both worlds. I am white and I am black. And I am not white enough. And I am not black enough. My experience as a biracial youth was that I was okay. Now, this is Florida, we're talking here, okay? It was okay. I was okay, and I was accepted in the classroom, okay? In the honors classes. I would have been the only, quote, quote, black person, all right? But outside of the classroom, I wasn't. No one tried to be my friend. No one was inviting me to their parties. But I was embraced by the black community and invited in. And my mom, too, was accepted. Maybe her goodness. She was, she was just pure, sweet goodness. And I think the goodness of my dad, too. So Like I said, she was accepted in the community and his family. And yes, she was welcome to the barbecue and the spades table, y'all. Okay. And for the older set, the bidwist table too. Which, oh, by the way, I play and I teach classes every Tuesday night. At least that was a long standing joke of mine when I used to beat people at the card table. So I'm going to off ramp here. You are welcome to join me. I love to play cards, like for real, which is probably not even a saying anymore. I've got skills. I've lost some games too, of course, but I've beaten the snot out of some people. Actually, when my husband was just a friend, I really did put him in the friend zone. And that's another podcast episode, which I was thinking recently I might call it Boy Meets Girl or He's Got Jokes. Stay tuned. All right. So, anyway, it was at my firstborn's second birthday party. We were at a local park, and my best friend Michelle and I played against him and a guy named Val. So, when I tell you we whooped them, we whooped them so bad. We were playing spades and they lost so bad. But to their credit, they took it like champions. I mean, we talked so much trash. They were in the negative hundreds of points. It was so bad. And with that kind of score, if you're not talking trash, you're not playing cards, okay? So I did learn that not everyone can take trash talking. And some people think Michelle and I are a bit much at the card table, but they were the epitome of I can take it like a man, head held high, and we respected them all the more for it. So my nephew Yomi moved down here, and my father and I taught him how to play not spades, but how to play bid whist, and he picked it up right away. Like he was bidding right off the bat, four low all the time, just four low. So I started calling him four low, and the name still sticks. But he'll pull a five low on you too. Another great player, besides my bestie cousin Isha, is her eldest son Omari. I do not, to this day, know how he pulls a rabbit out of his hat. Like, he will have trash. I will not even be playing the game. I'll just be watching, right? And I just noticed that vernacular. I don't know if y'all noticed that. But anyway, I'll be watching him and I'll be looking at his hands and I'm like, how is he even bidding? So all he does is runs no trumps. I mean, he did so many no trumps and got them so that I renamed him too. So instead of Omari, he's Nomari. Hey, Nomari. And hey, little Prince Asion. Hi, baby. He just became a father, and his little baby is so gorgeous and scrumptious. I love you, little cousin. Okay, so what is spades? For y'all who aren't card players, what is spades and what is bid whist? Or rather, what's the difference? So when I grew up, we'd go to North Carolina every year for our family reunion. Annual, y'all, every year on my dad's side. The Sherrill family. Before it was official, my mom was partnered with my dad, of course. She was pregnant with me, and they beat everybody. My mother could not lose. I was her lucky charm. This year, we celebrated our 47th annual reunion, which was wonderful, although many people were missing. Miss y'all. Okay, so I jokingly say that they decided to celebrate me every year because it became official and it was like always my birthday weekend. But anyway, during the family reunion, there'd be different things like we'd have a fish fry Friday and we'd have a formal thing on Saturday. My grandmother would put all the kids together and teach us songs to sing for the program. It was lovely. There were a lot of different groups of us back in the day. So the Sherrill family, like I don't even know. I've got people in my family who know these things. My cousin Sunday, my cousin Karen, and excuse me, her sister Janet. They're like all good at knowing all these things. But so there were different clans based on, like the kids, right? And then we all had different colors. So we were the red clan anyway. So I grew up at the card table because when there'd be time for the adults to separate and the kids to do what they were doing, my mom was not letting me out of her sight. I mean, my cousins would beg for them to take me. Nothing's going to happen to me. But she was like, no. So again, I was stuck at mama's knees, and I grew up at the card table, at the spades table, and the bid whist table. So spades is a cutting game. You've got hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades, and jokers, which are always wild, always spades. In some circles, mine included, people make the deuce of diamonds and the deuce of spades wild. Weirdly, and it messes people up, the order of importance is joker, joker. So one becomes big and the other one is little. So big joker, little joker, then the deuce of diamonds, deuce of spades, and then ace, king, queen, jack on down, right? It's always the highest cards win. You can't play spades at first. Like, you can't lead with the spades. You can only use it to cut another suit, but only if you don't have that suit in your hand. So you always have to follow whatever was led. So if a diamond is played, remember the deuce of diamonds is not a diamond. It's a spade. So I'm not talking about that. Like, let's call it what was I saying? A diamond. So let's say the first person puts an 8 of diamonds down, and the next person has to play a diamond. And if you don't have one, you can then play a spade, which would be considered cutting. But you can also throw off like a heart or a club. So I don't know if I lost y'all, but the highest card always wins, whether it's the original suits played or a spade that cut it. So I'm not going to get too deep on that, but that's basically how spades is. And the other thing is there is a bidding process, but it's different. What you're bidding on is you and your partner, how many books do you think you're going to get? And you get points for all the books that you actually secure, but you don't get the same amount of points. So let's say if you bid a 6, you're going to get 6 books. There's 13 altogether. If you make 8, you don't get the same kind of credit for 8 books. You get the credit for the books that you bid the 6. So you get 60 points. Oh my gosh. And so then bid whist is totally different. So you're both games, you're playing in teams. So there's 4 players, 2 sets of partners, and they're split up by the opponent. So there's you, your opponent, your partner, and then your other opponent. So on either side of you is the enemy, and straight across from you is your partner. And with bid whist, oh my gosh, is this just like too crazy? Let me just, I feel like I'm just going off on a tangent that is not necessarily bottom line is spades, and I love spades, is like kindergarten, and bid whist is like a PhD. So there's so many other different factors. There's so many, it's not just like high and low cards. It's just different. And you can lead with the trump, and you can name your own trump. It's not always spades. So that's all I'm gonna say on that, because I didn't I did not know that I was gonna do that. So I do teach y'all. I'm a good teacher. So if you want to learn, send me a message, man. So another squirrel over here is which of y'all would like to come on my podcast? I'll bring you into my kitchen studio. I know Rashida wants to come on. Hey, cousin. I haven't forgotten you. I definitely want to get your daughter on here as well. Talk about her business, her website. Call me. And Kenise, what you doing? Let me know. So, cards. Why did this even pop up? because playing cards, and it's not everywhere. So, like, oh my gosh, am I getting defensive? I feel like there's always going to be someone who's going to say something, or, oh, that's not true, or I was raised in a black family and we didn't play cards. And, oh, cards is a big deal in the black community in general. Now you know. Um, and, you know, it's just a whole thing, y'all. So, anyway, when I was a teenager, speaking of cousins, I had a play cousin. I won't say his name. We went to high school together in church, and we told everyone at school we were cousins. Obviously, on my daddy's side. um, and one year, um, well, so this was the 90s, okay? And so, like, songs were still good. My favorite genre is the 80s, but really I can go back to the 50s. Some doo-wops, that's the white side. My parents were considerably older compared to my peers' parents. So my mom was 31 and my dad was 39 when I was born. So I was raised on some Motown and doo-wops and black and white films, which I love to this day. But in high school, in the 90s, like I said, Michael Jackson had put out this song, Black or White. So I got all the jokes, man. They would come down the hall and see me and be like, is she black or white? And then Jungle Fever came out too. So I got sung at, she's got jungle fever, he's got jungle fever. Malcolm X came out. Let me say, my real cousin Robbie was the casting director on both of those films. I do plan to give her a spotlight on one of these episodes too. But this was a time where being black was in, it was a lot of black is beautiful, which was still pouring over from, I don't know, was it the 70s with the afros and all that stuff. But it was like reclaiming what's always been ours. And Jet Magazine and Ebony, Black Excellence. But this socially divisive construct was still around, and it was in the black community too. I got flack from both sides. So one day, this boy, in reference to my father marrying a white woman, tells me, tell your dad to go back to Africa. So my quick reply was, he did, with my mama. He was speechless. He kept it moving, at least to my face. Actually, I've got some really great photos of their time there. Like, it's incredible. They traveled the world before I was born. I think that was a big piece of waiting so that they could explore just the globe. They went to Africa and South America and Central America, Europe, Asia, just all over. So, and then once I was born, I got to travel too, which was great. So I have not been to Africa yet, but I have been to. Have I been to South America yet? I don't think so, but I'm going soon. All right, so I've been to Mexico. So we would go to Mexico a lot. I'm off ramping again, aren't I? So I've traveled the world as well. Moving on. So in college, oh, there was this other piece before I went to college. So when I was in high school, a lot of the guys that I liked, I dated a few very like superficial, very short lived, but they were mostly black guys, right? That I was attracted to. And my mom actually asked me something like, are you ever going to date a white guy? So I think I said, oh, I'm just like you. I wonder, again, black was in, right? And I was in this history class. It was a history class, like African American studies. And so I think a big part is she was probably afraid that she was losing me a little bit. Maybe that I wasn't going to be claiming my white side because I was writing this poetry, y'all, as I was learning the depth of the disgust of what was done, during slavery, right? In a predominantly white school, I'm not sure they thought that much out. I'm surprised there weren't riots that broke out. Anyway, so I was writing a lot of poetry about slavery and the black experience and the white man. And, she was reading some of my poems. And anyway, little did she know I would marry a white guy. So, um, anyway, college. Okay, so I went to school in a small little town in Georgia. And where was I accepted? Where was I drawn? Well, to the people who saw me as a person and, I don't know, not an afterthought, not an intruder. And the weirdest thing happened for me. And like looking back on it, I get it, but it was sort of like shocking too. So I hung out with, women who looked like me or who were darker, and there was a thing on campus, and it's in the world, okay? It's in society. So there would be a black guy, and sometimes they would be dating a white girl or a Spanish girl, and it would be so offensive. And I wound up, it was just like so stupid, but I wound up joining in on it. Like, um, even though I'm half white, I got offended. And I think a huge part for black women is that there's this perception, this perceived smaller pool of people to choose from or be chosen by. Now, of course, there are white men who date black women and every other, color, if you will, since it's not really a race, right? But not in Georgia at that time, not on campus. And so it was this thing of, you know, maybe not being wanted or seen, and so that the only possible person that they could be with would be a black person. And then if that person was dating someone else who didn't look like them, it just hurt. And I can't explain it any other way. um, but there's so many insecurities, especially because black women have been so marginalized and mistreated, which is a whole nother episode that I'm sure I will get into. But um, I, I realized, wait a second, my mother's white. And hello, I'm white. What in the world am I doing being mad at a black man for dating a white woman? That's nonsense. And so I snapped out of it, and I'm so glad that I did. But it showed me how much influence people have over you, people that you spend time with, and how it impacts your identity, and informs your biases. It creates biases, like you begin to share them. And so, depending on who I'm with, who I'm standing next to, if I'm with a group of people, um, I I'm kind of like a chameleon, if you will. Most people presume I'm Spanish when they first see me. My married name doesn't help. Hola, me llamo Melinda Heredia. So Heredia is my last name, so that's Cuban. My husband is quarter Cuban. Um, so what was I saying? Boop boop boop. So I see biases kind of pointedly at me depending on whom I'm with, right? Depending on the group I'm with. If I'm with an all black group, I get looked at differently. We as a whole get looked at differently. And maybe it's not so noticeable if I'm with another group of people. But I'm going to fast forward and I want to touch on something else that happened. So I was 37 when I got married. So it was like my late 30s or early 40s. I'm a full on adult with my full on black experience. And I get told by a relative that I was not black at all. Wait, what? Why? Because your mom's white. That's what I was told. I'm not black because my mother is white. And I know that it's this whole Judaism matrilineal, what's the word, matrilinity thing, like you can only be Jewish if your mom is Jewish. And then the tribe that you're a part of is on the paternal side, but that's not like what this is. And I was just, I was blown. Like, you've seen my daddy. He's your literal relative. I am from him. His blood comes from the same lineage, sorry, as you. But my mom is white, and so that erases him. Nah, I mean, it became a fight. Like, fighting words were spoken, low blows. I was saying some stuff out the side of my mouth that was very hurtful. I'm so sorry. I was heated. So much so after that call, because this all happened on a phone call, I called her mama and I told on her. So my father is black. That heritage is in me regardless of which parent carried it. And to erase that is to erase him and me. So for me, biracial doesn't mean half valid, you know, like it means I'm fully both. And I don't have to apologize for that. And if I wanted to say I'm white, that would be okay too. If I want to say I'm black, that's also okay. And if I want to say I'm both, I am. What I'm saying is, sorry, my neck rolled a little bit. I did the slow blink, which reminds me of my daughter. Oh my gosh, that little girl. That little girl is white. That little girl that I gave birth to has blue eyes and blonde hair. This chick is white. She looks just like my mama, like my mother was reincarnated. And I gave birth to my mom. And it's so interesting because there's this photo I have of my mom who, so when she turned 10 or 11, her hair turned red, and I imagine that'll happen with Michaela Sue too. But there's this photo of me, my little brown self, and sitting in her lap, this white woman with red hair. And we'd go to the grocery store together. And I remember there was this girl. Her name was something like Claire. She was, I don't know, Irish or Scottish, one of them things. Like, uh, who's the guy from Braveheart? So, Mel Gibson's character. She's somehow a descendant of him. Sorry, y'all. I had my ringer off, so I don't know how that came through. So we went to the store, and they looked just like each other. And then here I am, this black girl, even though I'm not dark, and the cash register person thought that the other girl was her daughter, and that that kind of hurt my feelings. I was in my 20s. I think I was 24 at the time, but anyway, I've I've had my stuff. I've experienced my stuff, and now I've got this little girl, and um, I've sometimes I've been afraid. I've been afraid, even though I'm not dark, right? I've been afraid that someone would look at me and look at my girl and think that I've taken her, or think that she's not mine, and yeah, because that stuff happens, and it's awful. So I only just recently stopped nursing her. She's 3 years old, so I think she stopped nursing in July. She's born in April. Um, so whatever. That's is that a whole nother episode too? Like, so I would nurse in public. I mean, I didn't whip out my stuff, but I put it underneath my shirt, and um, sometimes it would be kind of funny. Like if I was with my best friend, everyone thought that that was her girl until I started nursing her, and then they just turned around. um. Anyway, so what will my daughter identify as? Um. Probably white. And that's okay, but she gonna notice she got a black mama. For sure. And a black grandpa. And so I don't know. I don't know. But I'm gonna let her pass. I'm gonna let her pass. Huh. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Um, you know, the whole thing of me like being told that I'm not black, it just there's this glaring thing there because society didn't and doesn't treat people who are biracial as, regardless of if their mother was white, they don't treat them as not black. You bet your bottom dollar I'm black to them. Like, it's very real. Um, but that thing that just happened, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I don't know how long ago that was. It just informed me how deep racism is, how deeply entrenched into our society it is, like how deeply my people believe the lie of white supremacy, because that thought process leans into the whole one drop bloodline obsession, you know? Like if you had one drop of black in you, your behind was black, and again, they did it to stop people from all of the things, okay? And I'm not like I could go down another rabbit hole, um, but I'm not. And I know people are tired of hearing about it. They think that, well, if you just don't talk about it, it'll go away. And my dad thought that too. My dad thought naively, oh, well, once all the racists die, the world will be a better place. And, but the thing is, racists, everybody, parents, let's say this, parents teach their children to be what they are, you know? And I don't think anyone goes in thinking, well, I'm a racist, so I'm going to teach my kid to be a racist. And I don't know what kind of accent that was, but, you share your beliefs, political, religious, whatever. And even if you don't say it out loud, I promise you, them children are listening to you. They are watching you. They are learning what's acceptable. They are learning what's unacceptable. And so, what my dad realized all these decades later is no, it didn't go away just because those old, nasty, racist people died, because it just spread. They taught it. And no, it doesn't go away if you don't talk about it. You know, race, this whole thing was designed to cause division, to create an us versus them. It was designed to turn whites against blacks, blacks against blacks. Another Spike Lee joint, I told you about Malcolm X and the other one, but another one that Robbie casted was called School Days. Check it out. So it was a college campuses, or no, it was at a college campus, and there were sororities and fraternities, um, so that were in the film, and you see this thing about blacks against blacks, and it pointed to the fact that, like, in the real world, so I don't know any like white sorority names, but two black sororities that are probably the most popular are the AKAs and the Delta sorority. And at one point in time, you could not become an AKA unless you passed the brown paper bag test. So if you were as dark as or darker than a brown paper bag, you could not be in their club, And so historically, Delta was the sorority that you would go to if you were darker. Um, anyway, to me, I think it's so audacious to say that racism doesn't exist, or that it's not systemic, that it is not ingrained in the fiber of this place. I mean, do you ever fill out a form at the doctor's office or a mortgage application It's even on some job applications, school forms for your kids. What does it ask you right at the top? I mean, don't be blind. Don't sleep on that. Ugh. My parents, too, had to fill out a form at a school I went to, and my. Oh, man. Oh, it's my cousin. All right, I'm going to pause y'all. Well, I'm glad I took that call. That was my bestie cousin. um, but it also reminded me that I had groceries at the front door that I had to put away. All right. So, oh, hey Isha, love you. Thanks for listening to this podcast. This is the spot where you called me. So, where was I? I know I was talking about the forms that you have to fill out, right? You got to put your quote race. And I was starting to say, or I did say, that my parents had to make a decision when I was younger at a particular school, and my mom fought to put both, and she raised Cain, and they were not having it. And looking back as a mom, um, just realizing what that meant for her to have to select only one when she was part of the equation and my dad was part of the equation. Like, that matters, and that the fact that you could only pick one, it's erasure, like, that's deep. uh my parents got married in 69, and at that time it was around Christmas. Could have been Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I don't know. But it had only been 2.5 years since the Supreme Court case Loving versus Virginia made it legal in all states for biracial marriages to exist. So at that time, there'd been 16 states holding out. Uh, those states had made it illegal to be married to someone with a different skin color. Those states, probably not surprisingly, and I also looked that up as well, are Alabama, Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, Oklahoma. 12 of those, of course, are in the Bible Belt of America. Many Bible Belt states kept their ban language in their constitutions for decades. 8 of the 12 didn't remove theirs until between the 70s and 90s. Mississippi didn't repeal its ban until 1987. I was 10. Remember, this is when we drove cross country, which adds a little more context to the story about how my father had me hide in the back seat. That's not the safest place for a biracial couple to travel, even in the 80s. South Carolina repealed its ban in 98. I was 21. For the record, and for the win, Alabama held on for 33 years. Their ban wasn't removed from the state constitution until the year 2000. I was 23. So blackness, it isn't about genetics. It's identity. It's heritage and community. You can be fully part of that without having two black parents. I love black culture. I love black people. And I don't say that to say I don't love white people. Of course I do. I love myself, and I see myself as both. Really, I love good people. But there's something inside of me, and I wonder if it's about being accepted in the black community in a way that I was not amongst the militant absent people that created a distinction for me, or if it's how the core of my identity is one of advocacy for people who are hurt and mistreated. I mean, I've written plenty a poem on race and racism. I've lived it. And there's just something about understanding that not that long ago we were in shackles. Our babies were torn from our breasts and sold so that the masses of the baby, because he fathered lots of them Slave babies, right? The white baby could be put there to be nourished. It's not that long ago that they were experimenting on us to study the effect of disease to our death. It's not that long ago that my own father and his older sister were treated at the dentist but weren't given Novocaine for extractions. It wasn't that long ago. So when I see us shine, I mean, it lights something inside of me. When I see us, and not me, but us dance, woo, the rhythm, you know, um, it's just, yeah, there's just like certain music and, bass. I love bass. Is that some tribal ancestral thing that's in me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Uh, I remember when I had gone off to college in Georgia, driving um, through whatever town, I passed a literal cotton field. And just around that same time, I saw a black policewoman with another police officer. She was the one driving, and tears just began to stream down my face. Like how far we've come, what records we have broken, what oppression we still endure but still rise above. It's remarkable. You know, since I was a teenager, I've had people ask me, what do I consider myself? As if I had to pick. Well, I refuse. I am very much white. And not just when I speak proper English. I am very much black. I am both. But some days I'm blackety black. um, I'm laughing because I did see there was a meme and it said, every day I'm black, but in February I'm blackety black. And a couple years back, I had a lot of Facebook stuff for the month of, February. They gave us the shortest month. Anyway, so yeah, I posted a lot during that month, and it was blackety black this and blackety black that. But characteristics show up in my speech, in my sway, in my slay. Haha. No, I'm not slaying. But Marcia Richardson, that woman slays. Hey, girl. When someone tells me I'm not black because my mother is white, I hear systems that have always tried to define us from the outside. I am the child of a black father and a white mother. I am both. And I am more. I am more than the color of my skin or my parents' skin. Race, as defined by this nation and much of the world, is a lie, but my experience in this place that tries to define me is not. My experience has been shaped for so long by how the world sees me, but I've taken off those distorted lenses so I can see myself and define myself. And I refuse to fit into anybody's box, small or large. I am all things, and I am the best of both worlds. And my belonging to either world or space that I choose to enter does not need permission. Well, earlier I talked about buckling up, so I hope you did. You can soon unfasten those seatbelts because I'm going to land this plane, okay? I thank you so much for taking the ride with me, right? Along with the unexpected detours. Not perfect, but present. And I can tell because, like I'm looking at the GarageBand thing and, I've done it to where like I'm recording and it's like 500 and this sucker says 1775.4. So my hope, though, for those of you who have stuck this far to hear me say, my hope is that as I give with my whole heart here in this space, it becomes an invitation so others can show up as their true selves too, loved without limits. Until next time, unapologetically yours.